All right, so for our final lesson for the week, we are actually going to do some review because next week we're going to start solving multi-step equations where we might have to do a little bit of simplifying before we actually solve. And so I'm going to do some review of solving like terms and using the distributive property. And so I have this multi-step equations preparation sheet, and I would like to work through several of these with you. So let's take a look at number one. If you have like terms, meaning that you have something with the same variable, you may put them together. So 6a plus 5a would give me 11a. Let's take a look then at number three. So in number three, we have an example of some things that are like terms. The 6 and 3 are like terms, but we cannot put them with the 4 because these have no x behind them and these do, okay? So we have a 4x. The only way that I can put something with that 4x is if it has an x behind it. The 6 and the 3 do not. So I'm trying to do a little color coding here. So the things I can put together are the 6 plus the 3. And so what that would give me is a 4x plus 9. And that is as simplified as I can go because once again, this does not have an x behind it. So I'm going to just leave it as 4x plus 9. If we look at number 5, I have, again, some like terms. I have a 6r, and I have another plus 6r. So those things are alike, but minus 1 is not like those things. And so we're going to only put together the things that are alike. So 6r plus 6r would make 12r, and then I have minus 1. And that would be as simplified as I could go. Number 7, we have negative 14v plus 14v. And so we might run across this sometimes when we are doing some solving. What ends up happening is negative 14v and 14v I can put together because they do have a v behind them. However, what is negative 14 plus 14? Well, that's 0. So that means 0 times v, except we don't write 0 times v. 0 times v is just 0. All right, so maybe you can try number 9, 8m plus 13m. Can we add those together? Yes, we can. Those are both like terms. 18m plus 13m would be 21m. Okay, let's do a few more. So let's take a look at some distributive property. And so distributive property, if we see parentheses, that's the very first thing we want to do is remove those parentheses. After that, if we still have like terms, we can combine them. So what this means is 3 times 3x minus 3 times 6, or sometimes I just put those arrows there to remind me to do those multiplications. So this is 3 times 3x minus 3 times 6. So this simplifies to be 9x minus 18. All right, so now 9x has an x behind it, but 18 does not. So that means that we are as simplified as we can be because there are no like terms that we can add together. What about something like 13? If I have negative 3 plus 5 parentheses x plus 6. It's really tempting that people want to write negative 3 plus 5 and make that a 2. Okay, so let me explain to you why you cannot do that. Because there's a parentheses here, this parentheses means multiplication of 5 times x plus 6. Order of operations says we must multiply before we do addition. So the very first thing I'm going to want to do is this. So I'm going to leave that negative 3 in front, plus 5 times x plus 5 times 6. All right, so that leaves me with negative 3 plus 5x plus 30. All right, so do we see any like terms in here? Well, there are no other terms that have an x in it, but I do see minus 3 plus 30, so I could put those together, and the result would be 27 plus 5x, or if you want to write it as 5x plus 27, that means the same exact thing. All right, let's do a few more with distributive properties. So we have 4 times negative x plus 4. So that means 4 times negative x plus 4 times 4. That would give us negative 4x plus 16. And that would be simplified. We do not have any like terms to add together. Let's be careful when we have negatives and subtraction. So we have negative 6 times 1 minus, because of that subtraction there, negative 6 times 5v. I'm just adding these parentheses there so I remember this is a negative 6 times 5v. We have negative 6 minus negative 6 times 5v is negative 30v. All right, so let's remember our rules. If we have minus a negative 30v, if you remember, we had a way to remember that, okay? So we change this to addition and then to the opposite. So plus the opposite of negative 30, or just remember a negative and a negative together make a positive. So this is negative 6 plus 30v. And again, we have no other like terms, so we would leave it. Of course, you could always write 30v minus 6 as well. Finally, number 19. Again, we have distributive properties. We have 10 times 1, or 10.1, and 10 plus 10 times 3b. I guess I didn't need those parentheses there because I don't have any negatives, but a parentheses in this case means the same thing as multiplication. So 10 times 1 is 10 plus 30b. Okay, so we've done half together. Now I leave the other half on the other column, so the evens, for you to do for your assignment.